Today, I'm going to try to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of the Kanto portion of Pokemon SoulSilver with only Water-type Pokemon. Last week, we made it through a crazy run of the Johto portion of the game with some wild Water-type Pokemon that really displayed just how dynamic they can be. And today, I wanted to give more appreciation to what the developers accomplished with adding in Kanto and all of its gym leaders and secret battles as well. Not only that, but we'll have a host of brand new Water-type encounters that only unlock once you get the national dex. Even some back in Johto that are only accessible now. Let's see if we can beat Pokemon SoulSilver Kanto Edition with only the first water type that we find on each route, no stat boosting moves allowed, no items in battle, level caps in place, and the battle mode on set at all times. Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp, whose mission is one very near and dear to me. You see, back in my early days of university, I had a rough go of things and was diagnosed with panic disorder, with daily debilitating panic attacks. And, stubborn as I am, I waited a long time to try to tough it out by myself before finally having the courage to talk to an in-person counselor at the school's health center, as online therapy wasn't in the mainstream back then. Fortunately, I now haven't had a single panic attack since 2015, and I attribute that fact in large part to the skills that I learned in therapy and the ability to talk candidly and judgment-free to someone about what I was going through. But an online therapy service like BetterHelp is exactly what I wish I had back in the day, and you can access it with ease by clicking the link in the description below. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. Not only does it offer sessions at a time that's convenient for you, but you can have your therapy sessions as a phone call, as a video chat, or even via messaging if you prefer that, whatever's most comfortable for you. After a brief questionnaire to assess your needs, in most cases you'll get matched with a therapist in 48 hours or less, and if it doesn't feel like the right fit, which can be common when starting therapy, you can easily switch to another therapist with no hassle. If you think you might benefit from therapy, join over 4 million other people and consider BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/silv. Clicking that link helps support this channel, and it also gives you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. Thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video, and let's get into the run. Alright, let's get started on our journey to the Kanto region. But first, we're going to need to grab an SS ticket from Professor Elm. Thank you, sir. Now, looking at our team from the Johto portion of the game, with all the new encounters we have now opened up, I'm thinking about giving them a little break. To unlock these new encounters, though, we have to head to the Olivine Harbor where Oak awaits us and gives us the National Dex. Wait, he says he has to go do his radio show. I wonder what would happen if you check his radio show while he's standing right there. A missed opportunity, but another one comes about right away, as our first chance for a new encounter was the new Swarm mechanic that unlocks, but right now there's no good Mons, only Swablu. Missing out on a potential Whiscash really hurts. Regardless, heading back to the Safari Zone with the National Dex in hand, we can now access new encounters through the Area Customizer and the Block mechanic. Ours is found in the Wetland biome with 6 Plains blocks, a Lombre, which I catch and name Bernard. Checking out Bernard in the PC, he turns out to have a bashful neutral nature, which I'll definitely take, and Swift Swim too. Exactly as I was hoping for. Not only that, but heading to Route 31, we can now use a new mechanic called the Sinnoh Sound, which is available on the Pokegear radio only on Thursdays. With it playing on the radio, you can encounter exclusive Sinnoh Pokemon within Johto. And also Monotype for some reason. This is one of the biggest enigmas in all of Pokemon. I don't know why it's included in Sinnoh Sound, but anyway, including our next encounter, Bidoof, which I catch and name Brittany. And also on Route 43, we can find a Buizel that I name Hayden. At the PC, I decide to have our main party get a good rest. Think of us as Ash heading to a new region, trying out some new, shall we say, local encounters. Ultimately, I decide on taking this party with us, and honestly, it's a pretty cool team. I got our Seal named Katinka, Olivia the Chinchou, Michael the Remoraid, and Bowman the Tentacruel, along with our new Lombre and Bidoof. And what follows is an absolute evolution bonanza, as we never used any of the old encounters back in Johto, so ultimately we have 5 total evolutions and tons of EV training to round out our new team and to head over to Kanto. Speaking of which, it's time to board the new SS Aqua. Wow, what an original ship name. In no time we arrive at our destination, the Kanto region, docking in Vermilion City. Nothing could ever match the nostalgia coming back to Kanto brings me in the second half of a Gen 2 game. Seeing it 3 years later than the Gen 1 game events is just too cool. Well, it's time to take on our first challenge here, the Vermilion City Gym Leader, Lieutenant Surge. But first, I hit the switches on my first try consecutively for the second time ever. Hell yeah! And of course, we have to start with an electric type trainer of all things, and because we couldn't get Whiscash from Swarms, we are stuck without a part ground type. Oh boy. Luckily, I have a plan that I think might help out. He leads with a Raichu and I get our new Ludicolo on the field. He hits us with Thunder Wave off the bat, but I prepared for that with a Cherry Berry which heals us. Then I use a Rain Dance that I taught from a TM acquired from the Pokewalker, activating Swift Swim, meaning we can now outspeed and... oh. It survived a rain-boosted 95 power stab surf from a 90 base special attack fully EV trained Pokemon. Okay then, that ruins my entire plan. I have no choice now, so I stay in and get paralyzed again. It's all down to paralysis luck now. Fortunately, our part grass typing makes us not weak to electric, and we do make it through for another surf to KO him. In comes one of his electrodes next, which we would be able to outspeed and one-hit KO in rain were it not for the paralysis. He hit us with Charge Beam, and we stay paralyzed. He hit us again to half, and gets the special attack raise, but we make it through for the surf KO. Whew. But then, the rain goes down way earlier than I wanted. In comes his second electrode, which goes for double team in fact, but we make it through to hit it low. But not quite the KO with the rain stopped now. He then hits a shockwave to bring us to a third before another surf makes it through to end him. But he still has 2 Pokemon remaining, the first being a Magneton. However, we do have one more answer here. A backup, our part electric type Olivia, as he double teams on the switch. He confused us right away, which caused this to be an insane back and forth, but fortunately he doesn't resist water, so a couple surfs do him in with us taking minimal damage. But then, in comes his ace, Electabuzz, and it sets up Light Screen for free right away as we hurt ourselves in confusion. Fortunately, we snap out on the next turn, but we do very little damage to him, although he can't do a whole lot to a bulky Mon like Lantern either. This ends up being a crazy slugfest, and our berry helped us clutch it out in the end as we took him out once his light screen went down with us on a third health. Well, I was gonna say that was crazier than expected, but it was an electric trainer after all. First Kanto badge acquired, and hard fought too. Oh, a call from Lyra. I wonder how she's doing back in Johto. Thanks for your valuable input, Lyra. Moving up north, we make it to Saffron City where the next gym is, but before that, we have an amazing pickup in the form of the Psychic TM from Mr. Psychic, which I have a feeling is going to be very helpful for a future encounter of ours. Ah, the Fighting Dojo. Poor dudes, having been kicked out by those next door. This is the location of where all the gym leaders come back for rematches though, so I guess it did get its chance to shine. Next door, we make it all the way to the next gym leader, Sabrina the Psychic type trainer, and honestly, there is no surefire way to handle her. She starts with an Espeon, and I get Brittany the B-Barrel out there. You see, Brittany has Unaware, and with her Pokemon tending to power up a lot, this is great as those boosts don't count while she's on the field, including Calm Mind as our return does huge damage but not quite the KO. After she heals, we hit her again to the red, and then she hits a Psychic for huge damage and gets the special defense drop, but we can hit her again to KO. Then comes a massive threat, Alakazam. Not only is it powerful and fast, but it has Energy Ball of all things. So I switch into Bernard to tank it, and here I had a couple of options, but ultimately went for Surf as I feared that Skill Swap would give it a boost in the rain. And she did use it. Surf then barely doesn't get her to half, not good, but then she went for Reflect. Okay then. After that, it turns out we didn't even have to worry about the Psychic range, as bam, we got a critical hit to KO. Go Bernard, go! But then, in comes her final Pokemon, Mr. Mime, and I was not expecting this thing to be as much of a threat as it was, instantly setting up Light Screen and eating up Surf with ease. Psychic then hits us hard to a third before our berry helps us, and we bring her to half. Realizing I have to switch, I go into Olivia, who gets hit below half with 2 consecutive hits before our berry. Then we hit her to a quarter. She then nails us low as another Surf just barely doesn't KO on a Sliver. Why? I know she's gonna heal, so I take the opportunity to get Katinka out there as her light screen went down. But then she just set it up again before I use Icy Wind this time to get the speed drop on her, which I think will be crucial. We outspeed with Ice Beam now, and Psychic then hits us for a third. She then used Mimic oddly enough as another hit, and we get what I was hoping for, the freeze. Yes! We can hit her again to the red now, but then she full restores again. What is my life? Another light screen reset is the bane of my existence, as Katinka is only able to bring her to a third before we got a special defense drop. And I have no other choice here. I have to switch in Bowman, who gets ravaged by a super effective Psychic, but survives, even despite the special defense drop, and with the speed drop we gave her, can finally take her down with a waterfall. Holy, that was nuts. We're very lucky not to have lost anyone there. Oh hey, Bill's grandfather, asking for a Pokemon with a long tongue in particular. Why do you ask exactly? Now, the whole Kanto storyline is that the generator went out, and this officer requests that we go find the burglar who took a part from it. My dude, you're the police, why don't you go get it? After defeating the damn dude on the Nugget Bridge, he finds out that Team Rocket was actually disbanded. Turns out he's like a stray rocket grunt, I guess, and he decides to go back to his own country. Wait, wasn't there an ex-Team Rocket member in another region somewhere? Maybe Unova? Perhaps one of you guys know what I'm talking about. If you do, comment it down below, because I can't remember for the life of me. Interrupting Misty's date in the Cerulean Harbor, no idea why the guy panicked and ran off, but okay. We can then challenge her to battle back at the gym. I'm feeling pretty good about this one, as she leads with a Golduck against our Lantern. Psychic does little on us before Thunderbolt slams her, but barely doesn't KO on a Sliver, and then watch this. She preemptively switches with the prediction into Quagsire for Thunderbolt immunity. Whoa. Okay, AI, I see you. Here I switch in Bernard to tank the Earthquake for a little resistance prediction of our own, then obliterate her with a 4x damage Mega Drain, healing us fully in the process. In comes her Lapras next, and I decide to stay in and Mega Drain her, which does a third or so before she misses Sing. So I hit her again, and then get put to sleep. Exactly as I was hoping for, as now I know she won't use it again as I switch back into Olivia, tanking Ice Beam with ease and responding with the Thunderbolt KO and outspeed. In comes her 1 HP Golduck again, but she heals it before Thunderbolt hits her back to the red. She then healed again, goodness gracious, and we repeat that sequence before I anticipated that she'd use Disable and switch to Ice Beam. Her final Pokemon is a Starmie, and it doesn't have Psychic, so I know that we resist everything she has and can tank her out on half HP remaining with 2 final Thunderbolts for the victory. Never any real threat there, I wouldn't say, but it was quite a lengthy and tedious battle. Arriving in Lavender Town has me feeling spooky, so I head to the Tower of Graves to... Wait, what? What happened to the stories and stories of Cemetery? It's a radio tower now? Classic modern world. At least we get the Kanto Pokegear upgrade here, which is going to be helpful for something upcoming. Before that though, we can grab the Super Rod finally. I love how you need like 11 badges for this, definitely more than any other game. Now, using the Kanto Pokegear upgrade, we can dial it to the Pokemon Flute Station to wake up a sleeping Snorlax, and by using the Thief move, we can steal its Leftovers item, one of the best in the game, especially given how many bulky mons we have. Moving onward, we get to Celadon City, again a very nostalgic place for me, although to be fair, they did absolutely destroy the game corner. I mean, man, what a shame. The 4th gym leader is Erika, the Grass-type trainer, another huge threat for our team on the face of it. She leads with a Jumpluff, which I've learned not to underestimate, and I lead with our Octillery. You see, there was no reliable way to bait Sunny Day for Flamethrower, so I decided to attach the Choice Scarf on Michael, and she went for Sunny Day and outsped us regardless, but we land the 4x damage Ice Beam for the KO. Problem being, all her Pokemon have Chlorophyll, meaning they're now going to outspeed us in Sun anyway. I was expecting the Giga Drain from Jumpluff. Whoops. Here I can switch in Bernard though, and Ring Out from Tangela does huge damage. But our berry helps after the second one, and we nail it with the Ice Beam 1-hit KO. Her 3rd Pokemon is Victory Bell, which slams us with Leaf Storm off the bat, but we survive on just 10 HP in the red. Holy. Her special attack is lowered from it though, and Ice Beam barely doesn't KO on like 1 HP. What is with all these 1 HP survivals, man? Here I take the opportunity to switch, knowing her special attack is lowered and she's gonna heal, getting Bowman the Tentacruel on the field. I then go for Substitute as she uses Leaf Storm again and lowers her special attack again while doing no damage to us. A beautiful strategy as I then hit her with Poison Jab to half, and she Leaf Storms again. With her special attacks so low, I get the sub up again, and this works wonderfully. Even though she has a recovery move and a full restore again, as she can't even break our sub in several hits now. And Bowman eventually gets the job done. Her final Pokemon is Blossom, and with Sunny Day and Solar Beam, I am very glad that our sub stayed up as I had hoped, as now I can Poison Jab her low, and she has to charge up Solar Beam so we can smash her again for the win. That ended up working pretty nicely despite the initial mix-up. For winning, we also get the Giga Drain TM, which I've been waiting for Ludicolo. We next arrive in Fuchsia City, definitely one of the more interesting places in Kanto, and before anything, I'm gonna do something pivotal. Take Rowdy, our Staryu from the PC, which we caught back in Cherry Grove City, and replace Ludicolo for now, given what's upcoming. Using a Pokeathlon Waterstone, we can immediately evolve it into a beastly Starmie, which I cannot wait to use, and I teach him the Psychic TM that we got earlier. Huh, looks like he means business. The next gym leader is Janine, who took her father Koga's place here in Fuchsia when he went off to become an Elite Four member. And as it turns out, even with our terrible minus speed nature, we're able to outspeed every single thing on her team, including Crobat, nailing each one with a stab super effective 90 power Psychic for 5 one-hit KOs in a row. Rowdy, you are a savage. Oh, hey look, the Poison Jab TM for winning. Thanks, Janine, that'll be great for my physical Tentacruel who already knows it. It's so sad that the Safari Zone in Kanto somehow disappeared. Wait a minute, pretty much the same year that this disappeared, Johto got one? Did they just like steal it for business?
We should take Bikini Bottom and push it somewhere else!
The nostalgia is ever increasing, as next up we arrive in Pewter City, where the first ever gym we encounter in the Pokemon franchise is. Well, technically that was Viridian, but it wasn't open. You know what I mean. Here we can pick up an item that I've been waiting for all game. The Wise Glasses to boost all special moves. Not only that, but in the museum here we can finally revive the Dome Fossil that we got way back in the ruins of Alph to get our next encounter, a Kabuto, which I nickname Hackett, and who has a bashful neutral nature. After teaching Ludicolo the Giga Drain TM, it's time for the next gym leader, Brock. And in case you haven't noticed, his entire team, every single member, has a 4 times weakness to grass and is quite slow. So Bernard is able to mow down each and every one with his supreme Giga Drain power. Now that's one way to get a gym badge. Oh man, after the way that Gold, Silver, and Crystal butchered Viridian Forest, it sure is nice to see it in a more complete form. And here we are, where it all started for the franchise, Pallet Town. And you can even go in the first house, where I couldn't find my way out as a kid, who knew that carpets were doors, and say hi to a very familiar mom. Oh, my eyes are watering for some reason. Just one sec. Surfing down south, we encounter a completely destroyed island from a volcano, what was once Cinnabar. A familiar face is here, but he's not who we're looking for right now. No, we must sail onward to the Seafoam Islands, where, ironically enough, the Cinnabar Gym is now located, but also the location of our final encounter of the run that we're gonna use to beat it. You see, way down, several floors below, there's some water, wherein we can find a horsey that I catch and name Thorpe. Thorpe has a serious neutral nature and the sniper ability. Not bad at all. Now before we advance any further, I want to engage in a secret challenge that a lot of you who haven't thoroughly played through these games might not know about. But first, I want to train up a good old encounter of ours from Johto that I think will be perfect for the cause. Buizel, who I'm going to take with us in place of Dugong. After much training, he eventually evolves into a Floatzel, who I fully EV train and get a wicked moveset on. Heading way over to Mount Moon, it turns out none other than our rival, Dimwit, some of you might know him as Silver, is exploring the Kanto region himself and challenges us to one final one-on-one battle. Unfortunately for him, we have grown exponentially as a trainer, but he's still gonna be a challenge. He leads with his trusty Sneasel, and I lead with one of the few Pokemon that can outspeed him, and one massive power waterfall crushes him due to his frailty. However, in comes Meganium next. Now Ice Punch is only available on Floatzel via Battle Frontier Tutor, so I'm stuck with Ice Beam, which doesn't quite KO. Then he hits us with a 120 power stab super effective Petal Dance, but I had attached a Rindo Berry so we survive on less than half and nail him with another to KO. Whew, that was a monster threat to take care of. Next up is another huge threat at face value, Magneton, but I had taught Hayden the Dig TM, allowing us a 4x damage 1-hit KO. Alakazam was then outsped, not often do you see that happen, with a super effective Crunch for the instant KO, and the same even went for his Gengar as well. His final Pokemon is then a Golbat, and not wanting to mess up Hayden's streak, I go for the Ice Beam, but it barely doesn't KO on a Sliver, and then he hits us with an Air Cutter. But thank goodness no crit, so we survive and hit him with one more for the clean sweep. Hayden was designed for that battle. Poor dimwit came all the way here to get mopped. Well, back at the Seafoam Islands, I fully evolved Thorpe into a monster Kingdra using the Dragon Scale that you can find in Mount Mortar back in Johto. And he is what I think is going to be our answer to Blaine, the penultimate gym leader. He leads with a Magcargo, and not wanting him to get Sunny Day up, I smash him with the stab, 4x super effective Surf, instant KO. Then comes Rapidash, who does outspeed us and lands a bounce for not much damage, but it paralyzes. The one thing that can mess up my strategy, but we make it through for the Surf KO regardless. In comes his final Pokemon, Magmar, and he does set up the sun right away. But don't forget, Kingdra 4x resists fire, although we do stay paralyzed. With the leftovers helping too, I'm not too worried, although he then confused us on the next turn. And we hit ourselves. He then misses his overheat, but we hit ourselves again. A stab 130 power sun boosted overheat then hits, and what did I say? Thorpe eats it up. This was an insane back and forth, with Kingdra actually ending up on 43 HP thanks to leftovers before finally being able to take that thing down. That paralysis made that battle 10 times harder than it had to be, but we made it through. Well, our final gym destination is Vermilion City, the first gym that you happen upon in the originals, but it was of course locked back then. And it has a brand new gym leader, Blue, the rival character and former champion from the Gen 1 games. It's time to put our team to the real test. He leads with an Executor of all things, which has ridiculous coverage against our entire team. With that said, I had to sacrifice putting the Choice Scarf from our mom's savings on Michael so he could outspeed that damn thing with the 4x super effective Signal Beam 1-hit KO. But that brings in Rhydon, and Signal Beam is not too helpful here. I have to switch, so I go into Bernard anticipating the Thunderfang, but it was Stone Edge. Damn, that did a lot. But our berry helps, and then we can of course outspeed with the Giga Drain KO to give us huge recovery too. Then in comes Pidgeot, a massive threat for Bernard, so I switch into Olivia. Return does hit for a fair amount twice in a row, but our berry helps and we can land a stab super effective Thunderbolt, but it barely doesn't KO in the red before his berry. Why? Now the problem here is I know we need Olivia for a later mon of his, so I switch into Michael, but he gets a crit on return. And this was a critical, no pun intended, turning point in the battle. That prevented us from KOing here, which we could have done otherwise, and forced a switch again, making Michael worthless in the process. Ultimately, I went into Bowman to tank return, then thankfully outspeed with the Poison Jab KO. In comes perhaps the biggest threat of all though, Machamp, which has Earthquake. Knowing he'd use it, I go into Thorpe to tank it, and then I was 100% sure that he'd Dynamic Punch here for the most damage, but upon switching into Starmie, he went for Stone Edge of all things. Why in the world? I had a Persim Berry attached for Dynamic Punch confusion, but oh well. As a 90 power stab super effective Psychic hits, and somehow doesn't one-hit KO. What? As he smashes Rowdy into oblivion with Thunder Punch. That was a severe case of overconfidence. I thought that strategy up without running the calcs, and Machamp's base 90 HP and 85 special defense came through for it, I guess. Our first death of the run delivered by that four-handed demon. I then send in Thorpe to hit him with the Surf as he healed, then another, barely doesn't KO on the red again, and he hits a Stone Edge, and ruins yet another chance to end him with a crit. I can't do this anymore. Knowing he'd heal again, I stay in to hit another, but now what? My only remaining choice is Bernard, who I send in, but then he preemptively switches into Gyarados. What? Well, I can at least execute this part of the plan, switching in Olivia to tank a return and respawn with a 4x damage Stab Thunderbolt to fry that thing. But in comes Machamp again, and an earthquake would demolish us, so I send in Bernard, who resists it, and decide to go for the Giga Drain to get some recovery, but he dynamic punches and confuses us. The risk is far too great being confused, so I have literally one final option to switch in, Bowman, knowing he won't go for a resisted earthquake on Bernard and will likely heal. And he does, but at this point I realize it's kind of over. We're gonna lose Bowman for sure. I go for the waterfall just thinking, well, we could flinch him I guess. And we do! No way! So we can hit him once more. But he survives on a sliver. But no way! There's the miraculous double flinch to end him. Are you kidding me? There's no way that just happened. Finally. Then in comes his Arcanine, which does intimidate Bowman as Waterfall hits him to half. Then he Flare Blitzes and gets a crit down to just 25 HP. But Bowman clutches with the survival and Waterfall KO for the victory. Damn, that was a hard-fought victory to win us our 16th and final badge. And beat the former champion himself. Unbelievable. Well, one last challenge awaits, the ultimate one. I had a damn tough time deciding between all our remaining Mons, but I opt for this, what I think is our best possible team for the final battle. Trudging through the wilderness, we arrive at our final destination, the perilous Mount Silver. Upon entering, we can find one of the best items in the game, the Expert Belt, before a long trip brings us to the summit where, walking further, a lone figure awaits. Another former champion, this time an even more powerful one, Red himself. With no words necessary, it's time to do battle. Red leads with his trusty Pikachu, and I get good old Loxy out there. Not only are we immune to or resist all his moves, but also, this gives me a crucial opportunity to stop the hail by starting Rain Dance. Then, Iron Tail doesn't do much, but does lower our defense before a massive power stab earthquake crushes that mouse. Then, in comes a gargantuan threat, Venusaur. Oh boy. I send in Thorpe to tank Giga Drain since he's not weak to grass, and after leftovers he took that real well. I then hit him with the Ice Beam, but it does just less than half unfortunately, but he does miss his Sleep Powder. I hit him again to just a sliver in the red, and then he unleashes an unholy Frenzy Plant, which despite not being super effective and us having near full health, somehow takes Thorpe down instantly. What the hell? That was OP beyond belief. From here though, I can safely get Bernardo for the Ice Beam KO at least. In comes Red's Charizard next, and Air Slash is terrifying for Bernard, and we no longer have the Rain Up either. However, with the Expert Belt attached, it still misses the KO on a sliver. Over and over and over again, we don't KO on a sliver. Why? Fortunately, Air Slash only hits us to a third or so before another couple can take him down after he heals. Then in comes a monstrous beast, Snorlax, but I have a plan for him as I send in an old friend of ours, Dwyer, to tank Crunch with ease and respond with the stab super effective Brick Break, which isn't enough, but he has like no good moves against a water and fighting type, so another does the trick after a mere Shadow Ball. Then Lapras, well, had the same kind of situation going on as Dwyer chops that thing in half with 2 hits, although granted he was able to hit us hard with a super effective Psychic to a quarter before our berry. Then in comes Red's final Pokemon, a beastly Blastoise. But we have the perfect counter. Olivia, who I switch into a Focus Blast, which not only hit but got a crit to half. Sheesh. Then he somehow hits a second one consecutively, but no crit this time, so we tank it on 84 HP before our berry and respawn with a stab super effective Thunderbolt, and we return the favor, finally getting a crit of our own to win the battle. Oh man, we did it. We beat the entirety of Pokemon SoulSilver, 16 badges and bonus battles with only water types and no stat boosting moves. That was an insane challenge. We lasted so long deathless, but ultimately had 2 deaths in the end. Incredibly fun though, such a wicked variety of water types to use. Thanks so much for watching guys, and I will see you in the new year for a full announcement and trailer for my secret project that I've been working on for the past 1.5 years. You will not want to miss it, so stay tuned with notifications on for the next video.